All right, here we go. We are live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chris, and this is my channel, We Love Comics. And I got my 4 PGX books back from being graded. So, as usual, and something I've done almost every single month for probably going on 3.5 to 4 years at this point, I send in 4 books to get graded, pressed, dry cleaned, signature verification if it needed it, to PGX. I do not get paid by them, so I am under no obligation to say anything other than sharing my own personal experience. In other words, I'm under no contract to be doing anything other than sharing my experience. If you want to use PGX, one of the things I highly recommend is go to the description of this video or any of my videos and look for the PGX links that you can get some discount codes. If you send in 10 or more comics to PGX to get graded and you use the code We Love Comics Free Press, they will press one of your comics for free. So that is, depending on the book, anywhere from a $20 to $40 retail value. Also, one of the things, because of my recommendation, is for a $5 fee, you can have the Graders Notes added to the back of the slab. Now, that is an added feature. You don't have to do it, but I personally love having the Graders Notes on the back. They are the only one of the 3 major companies that does it. But if you use the code We Love Comics Graders Notes, you can get the Graders Notes placed onto the back of your slabs. And like I said, it's $5 charge. But if anything, it's just more convenient, at least for me. But if you want to get your Graders Notes for free, you could just email them, and they will email you the Graders Notes for free, so you do not have to pay if you don't want to. That's just if you want to add it to the back of the slab, which, like I said, it's a personal choice, something I like. One of the things I always say is I like to do this live, so this way there's no way to edit anything. I just open the box, share the experience, and then you can decide what you think is best for you. One of the things I highly recommend, especially if you're newer to comic book collecting and newer to grading systems, make sure you do your own due diligence. Make sure you do your own research. Each one of the 3 major grading companies is going to have its pluses and minuses, so don't just assume one is for all, because that is not always the case, and I've shown that several different times. So please, guys, make sure you do your own research before you spend your money and spend it the wrong way, because there will be people like me and others who will take advantage of getting green labeled CGC books that have a signature on it that they did not verify, well, they will not verify and did not witness for half of what it's really worth. I've shown it on several occasions. So with that out of the way, I see enough people are here, so welcome to those who are here. If anybody wants to hit the like button, I mean, obviously you can wait until the end of the video so you can see for yourself if it's worthy. But if it is, I hope you will not forget. Here are the 4 books. Now, these are from December's shipment. I sent these out on, I think, like November 29th or something like that. They got them in about less than a week. So this is for December's month, and I'm already getting them back. And Rob just did a super chat, so thank you for that. That's unexpected. He says, what do you think the most undervalued book is today? That's really hard to say, because it depends on, you're talking modern books or older books. I say at this point, anything X-Men or Fantastic Four, because of the fact we know they're coming to the MCU, and we know what's going to happen to the prices of those books. Now, as far as undervalued, I mean, sometimes you just got to take pot luck with some of the newer books and see where they'll go, but there's also, with greater reward comes greater risk, so it's hard to say. I like to stay on the safe bet and go more with the Silver Age and Bronze Age key characters. You're going to spend more, but like they say, you get what you pay for. Taking the chance on some of the newer books, they may or may not happen, but the benefit is you don't have to spend as much. So I really tell people, buy what you love, do your research, check out videos like mine and many other channels that talk about comics to speculate on. Most of my videos I did way before many people speculated, and that's why I don't do many of them anymore, because I'll just be regurgitating the same thing, which makes no sense. So and also keep in mind, you can have a $5,000 book that you could just happily make a deal with on somebody that cost you $1,000 on eBay, or somebody you know in, real life. So deals are always out there. So don't think that because something is out of your price range, you can't get a good deal and it becomes something that's undervalued. You can make that happen. So that's what I recommend. All right, so hopefully that answers your question, and thank you for the super chat. That was really nice of you. So here are the 4 books. I do this every month. I unbox it live. I do not know the grades. We learn them together. To me, it's one of the few things that I look forward to as far as comics. As like I said, I've bought one new comic in the past 6 months, which kind of is sad, but, all things happen for a reason, so I don't worry. But I always tell the price that I paid, unless I didn't write it down, which has happened once or twice. I tell the significance of the book, and here you can see it's securely wrapped. And I'll tell you something, I've been watching a lot of comic book videos lately. I mean, I'm not going to say anybody in particular. I've been just watching generic ones. And it's amazing how many CGC videos are out there with cracked cases and orders gotten wrong. Now, that can happen with any company. So there isn't a company alive today that hasn't had some kind of issue. But it's not issues that happen. It's what you do with it afterwards. And you notice, and they include the bag and boards, and I'm going to turn these upside down because I didn't see any grades, but I saw the picture. So they were nice enough to cover them with these bag and boards. But, and they put them in the cellophane. Not once in the 4 years I've been doing this live, and every video is up so you can see it for yourself. Go to my playlists, and you could see the PGX unboxings. Not one comic has ever arrived with a cracked case. And I've seen so many times on the CGC. I don't see many on CBCS. I don't think I've seen any on theirs either. But with CGC cases, I see cracked cases all the time. And for some reason, people just say, oh, they're mad and they're not thrilled, and they'll say they'll never use them again, and they do it anyway. Like I say, variety is a spice of life. So, again, I like doing this live, so this way you can see what's going on. There's no editing, there's no funny business. I'm just showing comics. Alright, so let's get into these, and I do see that there are graders notes on the back, so I will go over them. So let's start with the first one. Alright, so this is Conan #1. This is, in my opinion, Barry Windsor Smith's best cover art in a comic book. Now, again, that's my opinion. Yours may differ, but I absolutely love this cover. I had a legit 9.8 version of this book back in the days when I was collecting. I mean, it was, when I say perfect, and of course I bought it way before anybody even heard of grading companies. But that was one of the books that got stolen from me. That book, oh, I wish I had it. I remember nervously back in the 80s spending $125 on it back in the days. And like I said, it would have been a 9.8 without even a pressing. I mean, it never was opened. It was perfect. This isn't that book, unfortunately. But I have several copies of this book. They are lower grade than anything in the 9s. But for the price I paid for these, it's definitely worth it. Now, we know that the Marvel company, Disney, has bought the rights back for Conan. So we'll see if there's ever another movie or anything like that. You know that if they do that, that will increase the prices even more. But this is the first comic appearance of Conan, not his first appearance. This particular book, I paid $107.25. It's definitely not a 9.8, but I predicted roughly about a 7.0 to 8.0 with off-white to white pages. Now, when I make my predictions for grades, I always predict them based on the fact that they will be pressed and dry cleaned. So, of course, it's not an exact science, but this book looks pretty darn clean. So let's see what the first grade is today. I don't think I've ever sent one of these in to get graded. Alright, so there we go. I said between a 7 and an 8, and it's a 7. So I'm actually pretty spot on when it comes to pressings and the gradings and everything. Now, I said off-white to white, it's cream to white. So basically, I was right in the middle of those pages. Cream to white means, sometimes the opening pages, because they get read the most or looked at the most, tend to get discolored more. and the back of the book tends to be whiter because most of the time, if you're not reading the book, you're just skimming through it. But very happy with that. First appearance also of King Kull in a cameo. And if you can't get this book, get this book. The only major defect, if you want to even call it major, is there are two tiny little dots right there. I don't know if you can even see them. They're brown little dots. But that was the major problem with this book, which absolutely will qualify in a 7.0. There's no tears. I mean, there's a tiny amount of, right at the tip, you probably won't even be able to see it. One or two very small color break creases. But again, for a 7.0, and I'll show the back of the book, no rips, no coupons missing. This is really in good condition. So 7.0, the fact I paid $107.25 for that book, not going to complain. So it does, like I said, does have the graders notes, so I will read those right now. They've definitely fixed the label, so they took away the PGX logo from the middle, so this way they can have this look much nicer. So good job with them doing that. Okay, so the stains on the back cover, which I mentioned, those two little dots. Let's see, multiple stress lines along spine. That's to be expected. Cover and edge wear, browning, and browning of interior cover. So, very happy with this grade. Like I said, I was predicting a little bit higher, but I did say 7, between a 7 and an 8. I'll be very happily accepting this 7.0. And to me, that's a good way to start, especially for the price I paid for it. So, 1 out of 4 so far. Cannot complain. Okay, next up, we have... Alright, so this is Marvel Spotlight number 28. This is not the first appearance of Moon Knight, but it's his first solo story. And then don't forget, there's also Moon Knight number 1, his first solo appearance. So there's a couple of different key issues, especially if you cannot afford his first or even second appearance, especially with the TV show coming. And I am looking forward to that TV show. So this is definitely a book. I bought these years ago, back in probably 2017-ish. So I didn't spend a lot of money, so it's not going to matter to me the grade, but obviously the higher the grade, the better. But I only paid $26.31 for this book. Like I said, I've been telling people for years to get books like this, because I was telling people, you know, especially once the first appearances become, you know, unobtainium, people are going to go for the first solo series, if there are any, or the first comic book appearance as far as a solo issue, again, if there are any. You know, some of those you get all in one book, so it's going to vary. But this is definitely a key book. It's a minor key, but we'll see how the TV show does. But I have a lot of hope for this TV show. From what I've seen from the trailers, it looks like they're taking it seriously, and they're not going to just, you know, make it into some silly thing that no one's going to care about. It looks like they're kind of going the serious route, so I'm really looking forward to this TV show. Could it be one of the best ones so far? We'll see. But if you can get your hands on this book, get it. You're not going to pay, most likely, what I paid, but I always say, make deals, wait for deals. You never know. Sometimes at the back of a comic book store, there might be a box that hasn't been touched in years. Happen to see one. So, all right, so I predicted about a 7.5 to 8.5 with white pages. Of course, like I said, I get all these pressed and dry cleaned. And remember also, I don't use express return or anything. So I got these back in about 30 days, and that's just regular mail in the regular system. So they do not include, you know, fast tracking or anything like that for these. So this is a regular, normal, what you would get in return, approximately 30 business days, which isn't bad at all compared to what I've seen with some of the other companies. All right, so grade number 2 is... That's 6.5, so this is a little bit lower than what I predicted, but again, I cannot complain for the price I paid for it. It looks pretty darn good for a 6.5, but I do see there's a little bit of staining on the bottom. Right there. Not major amounts, but that will absolutely lower the grade. But you could see, you know, they're not trying to do me any favors. They're not giving me 9.8s. I think that is definitely fair grade for that. Let's see what the graders notes say, because there are graders notes on this. It says moderate foxing, which I showed on the back. Multiple minor stress lines along the spine. That just means, you know, people read the books. That can happen. minor cover wear, and minor edge wear. So overall, like I said, I'll show the back. Overall, looks pretty good. There's a little bit of spotting also here. I don't know if you could see it right over there. So there's a little bit there and a little bit on the top. So that would be the reason why it lowered a little bit more than what I thought. But hey, again, for paying under $30 for this book, I'll take a 6.5. I have many other copies anyway, so maybe there's better copies out there. But we'll see. All right, 2 more left to go. Next up. All right, this one, obviously, with the TV show. I watched the entire Hawkeye show, the quote-unquote Hawkeye show. It was basically a bait and switch. I knew that going in, that they were going to focus more on the female version of Hawkeye. The ending, I'm not spoiling anything, but the ending was very cartoonish, very silly. I don't like what they supposedly did with a new introduced character. I won't say who. I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, so please don't spoil anything just in case. Nick Value Comics says, PGX, just curious, why would you use them versus the big two? Well, number one, I have contact, when I initially wanted to work with one of the grading companies 3 or 4 years ago, I contacted PGX, CGC, and CBCS and said, if I send in, if I do advertisements advertising your company, can I get a couple of books sent in to get graded? CBC and CGCS never responded. PGX not only responded from email, but the owner of the company actually called me on the phone, which I can talk to at any moment. So shout out to Daniel Patterson. And he's been working with me, allows me to send in 4 books a month, to get, which includes pressings, dry cleanings, and signature verifications if I need them, for doing these kind of videos and promoting his website. Also, I've done many videos, like for example, I have many of these where people send in a book that was already signed by CGC. It was not witnessed by them, so they send it in. It comes back with a green label with writing on the cover. I've had many books. There's another one right behind it. Same situation where I paid half price or less because of that. Again, green label, name on cover. So CGC is the #1 grading company. I've said it 6 million times, but they are not always what will be best for you. So I've never had a problem with PGX. I'm not the type of person that bases things on other people's experiences, and especially when 90% of the people who will bash a company just bash it because they heard somebody else do it. If you look at videos out there, there are more people that complain about CGC and their quality than any of the other companies combined. And yet people still use them regardless. I'm not saying not to use them. What I'm saying is make sure, if, for example, you have a comic book that's already signed, it would be absolutely ridiculous to send it to CGC. Why would you want to get a green label? Because people like me will buy them for 50% from what they are worth. And I've shown that even with Invincible #1. I bought an Invincible #1. It was a CGC 9.8 green label that had Robert Kirkman's signature on it, but because it was already done and sent to CGC afterwards, it just said writing on the cover, sent it to PGX, they had it verified, still got the 9.8 because it was a CGC 9.8. I sent them the top part with it. And I guarantee you I could sell it for way more than what I paid for it, because I only paid $450 for it. So, to each their own, but I have no problems with PGX. If you do, that's your thing. But I hope it's based on your experience, not just what you hear on the internet. Because if you can't tell these days that most of the things you hear on the internet without proof tends to be a bunch of malarkey, we'll put it that way, I've never had a problem with them. Now, have they gotten every grade right? No. But I've done this almost every single month, almost going on 4 years now. 4 books every month. And I would say maybe 4, if not 5 books, I question the grade. That's out of what? Out of 200 books? 300 books? I haven't had a problem with them. If you do, or you don't like them, that's fine. All I can do is share my own experience, so hopefully, Nick, that helps. Alright, so let's get back to this, because you guys are waiting. This, of course, is the first appearance of Hawkeye, the real Hawkeye. But this, of course, is Tales of Suspense number 57. This is a lower grade. I paid only $150 for this. I predicted about 3.5 to a 4.5 with off-white to white pages. So without further ado, 3.0. Okay, so a little bit lower than what I predicted. So again, you know, I'm basing it on what I think it might be after a pressing. But still, there was a lot of damage on the edge, which to me, honestly, because if you look at the cover looks great. I don't mind as much when there's, you know, the color break increases and stuff like that, and the little minor tears and stuff. As long as the staples are intact, I'd rather have the damage here because you can't really see it. But if it's all along the cover, and I'll show you the back, how clean the back is too, I'd rather have the damage along the edge. So 3.0, still not going to complain for, what did I pay, $150 for this book? Creamed off-white, what did I say? I said off-white to white, so I'm not the greatest on the colors, but let me see what the greatest notes say on this one. Okay, so it says 2 1/4 inch spine split at the top, multiple stress lines along the spine, which, like I said, I knew that going in. Moderate cover, edge, and spine wear. Multiple minor edge chips at the top edge of front back cover. You can see actually one little piece. You might not be able to see it. My finger's pointing at it. Right there. It's a little piece protruding. So yeah, there's a few minor little chipping at the top. But all that will definitely qualify for a 3.0. So this looks pretty darn good for a 3.0. Ronald says, is a green label a restored book? No, a purple label is a restored book. A green label is qualified. Like, for example, if you have Hulk 181 and the... let's say the biggest thing, the Marvel value stamp is cut out, you would get the green label because it's incomplete. So qualified is for things like incomplete things, like a missing page or a missing coupon cut out, or like with the signatures, if it was not verified or witnessed by CGC, they'll just give a green label. The purple label is for problems like, you know, somebody color touches or adds glue to the spine, or adds a new staple, or reinforces things. So it does pay to make sure you know what you're researching. So that is a very legitimate question and everything. But yes, green label is qualified, purple label is restored. Sometimes you can get both, because you can have a restored book that has a coupon cut out or a missing page. So you can get both. The one that will show the most will be the one either that has the most problems qualified or the most problems restored. So sometimes you'll see purple with a thin green line at the top. That means it's both qualified and restored. You know, that's a book you really don't want unless, you know, you paid $1 for it or something. So 3.0, paid $150. I'll still do well on this book. It's not restored or anything. Looking good. A little bit lower than what I thought, but hey, no one ever said I was a professional grader, so you could at least see they're not trying to bump up the grades. I think these are very accurate grades. Whether you think so or not, that's up to you. But like I said, that's why I show it live. So I'm not editing anything. I'm not doing any bait and switches. I'm not cracking open a case and putting something in that doesn't belong there. You see it live, you draw your own conclusions, and that's why I do these. Alright, so last one. I was fortunate enough to pick a 9.8 of this book. I paid about $107 for it back in 2016. I was telling people back then to get these books. I have many copies of this. This isn't a 9.8, I could tell you that, but it's still a fairly high grade. We'll see what happens. This, of course, is She-Hulk #1. She is getting her own TV show. Let's hope it's a good show. Fingers crossed. I paid only $6.25 for this. Like I said, I was buying these. I didn't buy them when they first came out, obviously, but I bought these around 2017, 2018, when I first heard the information from people that were, you know, giving me inside information, which most people didn't believe me about. But this could come back as 0.5 and I'll do fine, but this is definitely not a 0.5 book. So if you can get your hands on this book, this is definitely still a book. It's up there, but it's not going to get any cheaper once the TV show goes out, unless the show is horrible. So let's hope that doesn't happen. But I said I predicted about between an 8.5 to 9.4 with white pages. So this is the last book. Definitely one to get if you can get it. Let's see where I end up with this grade, because I'm not the greatest with the higher grades. So let's see. All right, so there you go, right in between. So a 9.2. Very happy with that. This one was a clean book. You can't even call it a problem. The only problem is there's a date stamp, but that's not a problem because that's allowed to be there. The back of the book is beautiful, especially with a book that's all white. You'll tend to get a lot of dirt. So whoever previously owned this book took really good care of this comic. And the only grader's note on here is multiple minor stress lines along the spine, which you could... I can't even see them. But then again, it's harder when it's on the case. But, I mean, I'll do a slow-mo. Did the camera freeze? Hold on. Saying high encoding. Alright, so I'm not sure if you could still hear me or not, but the computer's actually freezing. So that is the fourth book. It says multiple stress lines along the spine, multiple minor stress lines along the spine. This book looks absolutely beautiful. And it is, by the way, a newsstand edition. So they did mark that down. So very happy with that with a 9.2. Sorry this all of a sudden froze up, but that's YouTube for you. They love to do this. And sorry that's the case. So we're going to go with today's surprise subscriber shoutouts. Not sure if you're going to hear this or not. But we're going to go with Matt Stage and Sylvester Bradford. Both of you are going to be today's surprise subscriber shoutouts. So if you want to post a link to one of your YouTube videos or to your YouTube channel, you could post that link in the comment section. If that doesn't work, you can, well, if you want to use your social networks, you can do that. And if you don't have any social networks, you can